Not necessarily so.
She's not on the list.
The winner of the Diversity in Tech Award is not Amara Cole.
The ballroom glittered, all glass, silverware, and white linen. But when Amara Cole reached the registration desk, the woman behind it froze. Name? The woman asked, eyes already narrowing. Amara Cole, she said, handing over the embossed invitation. A pause. The woman glanced at her computer screen, then back at Amara's skin. This section is for executives. Are you sure you're in the right hall? Conversations faltered nearby. A man in a navy suit chuckled under his breath. Cameras from the press pit swiveled, catching the moment like vultures circling fresh prey. Amara's throat tightened, but she forced her voice steady. I'm the keynote sponsor. My company, Cole Dynamics, funded this event. The woman blinked. Her lips twisted into something that might have been embarrassment or disbelief. Right, well, perhaps you could wait in the general seating area until we confirm. Laughter rippled across the reception line. The sound was low, poisonous. Amara's hand trembled as she clutched her clutch tighter, the gold clasp biting into her palm. A security guard stepped forward. Ma'am, you'll need to step aside. And then a voice behind her, smooth, dismissive, slid through the air like a blade. She's not one of us. Don't make a scene. It was Michael Trent, the event chair, her former mentor. Her vision blurred under the chandelier's light. She could hear the shutters, click, click, the story already being written before she could speak. The guard reached for her elbow. Cameras flashed again. Somewhere deep inside her chest, something cracked. By the time the night ended, the world would know her name, but not for the reason any of them expected. The ballroom glittered, all glass, silverware, and white linen. But when Amara Cole reached the registration desk, the woman behind it froze. Name? The woman asked, eyes already narrowing. Amara Cole, she said, handing over the embossed invitation. A pause. The woman glanced at her computer screen, then back at Amara's skin. This section is for executives. Are you sure you're in the right hall? Conversations faltered nearby. A man in a navy suit chuckled under his breath. Cameras from the press pit swiveled, catching the moment like vultures circling fresh prey. Amara's throat tightened, but she forced her voice steady. I'm the keynote sponsor. My company, Cole Dynamics, funded this event. The woman blinked. Her lips twisted into something that might have been embarrassment or disbelief. Right, well, perhaps you could wait in the general seating area until we confirm. Laughter rippled across the reception line. The sound was low, poisonous. Amara's hand trembled as she clutched her clutch tighter, the gold clasp biting into her palm. A security guard stepped forward. Ma'am, you'll need to step aside. And then a voice behind her, smooth, dismissive, slid through the air like a blade. She's not one of us. Don't make a scene. It was Michael Trent, the event chair, her former mentor. Her vision blurred under the chandelier's light. She could hear the shutters, click, click, the story already being written before she could speak. The guard reached for her elbow. Cameras flashed again. Somewhere deep inside her chest, something cracked. By the time the night ended, the world would know her name, but not for the reason any of them expected. She leaned forward, eyes sharp. You mean honest, Warren sighed. You're putting us in a difficult position. I didn't put us here, she said. Your silence did. The room fell still again. She looked around the table. These were people she'd brought in, trained, trusted. People who had smiled in her face, shared her victories. Now they avoided her eyes like she was contagious. Her voice steadied, colder now. Michael Trent used our sponsorship to validate his event, then publicly degraded me. He weaponized perception, and now you're helping him clean it up. That's not fair, said one director. You're assuming intent. Intent doesn't change outcome, she replied. Malik's pen stopped moving. The quiet stretched thin, trembling. Finally, Warren spoke again. If we keep this conflict going, Amara, the Alliance might reconsider our inclusion in next quarter's Innovation Summit. That's millions in exposure. It's not personal. It's business. She rose from her chair. For you, maybe. For me, it's survival. The lights hummed above her as she gathered her folder. You can all vote however you like. But if you think silence will save you, you haven't been paying attention. Warren stood, placating. Let's not make rash moves. There are channels for this. Channels designed to drown voices like mine, she said, walking toward the door. Amara. She stopped, didn't turn. When this is over, Warren, remember who you chose to protect. The door closed behind her with a solid click, the sound of bridges burning. Outside, Malik caught up with her. You didn't hold back, he said. I've been holding back my entire career. They walked through the hall, the echo of their steps sharp against the floor. What now? Malik asked. Now, she said, we build a record. Everything they say, everything they bury. Documentation is the only language power understands. He nodded. Trent's name came up 3 times in that meeting, directly or implied. You think he's pulling strings? He doesn't need to, she replied. The system already knows how to dance for him. They stepped out into the daylight. Cameras were still waiting, and not many, but enough. Flashes went off as soon as she appeared. Ms. Cole, is it true the board might remove you? Do you plan to sue the Alliance? Were you denied entry because of race? She didn't answer. Not yet. Instead, she met one camera squarely, her expression unreadable, poised. No comment, she said, voice calm as a blade. But you'll hear from me soon. And as she walked past the chaos, Malik glanced at her, eyes questioning. Soon? He said quietly. She didn't look at him. Someone out there has proof. I'm going to find it. The email arrived at 2:17 a.m. No subject line, no signature, just a single attachment and one sentence. He's been doing this for years. Start with these. Amara sat upright in bed, the glow of her laptop slicing through the dark. Outside, the city slept under a low fog. Inside, she could hear her own pulse in her ears. The file opened into a chain of emails. Internal correspondence from the Global Business Alliance. Subject lines like optics for minority representation and high-value diversity image low-risk placement. Each message worse than the last. Michael Trent's name appeared over and over. His tone was casual, polished, deliberate. Cole's presence is useful for visibility, but brand cohesion requires discretion. We can't alienate our core donors. Amara scrolled faster, her breath shallow. Visibility, discretion. Every word was a scalpel disguised as etiquette. At the bottom of the thread, one message made her stop cold. From Michael Trent. To Event PR. Subject. Seating chart adjustment. Move her name to general seating. She'll understand it's not personal. It's perception. Her hands clenched around the mouse. She whispered the line out loud. It's not personal. Malik's voice broke the silence from the doorway. You're still up? She turned the screen toward him. Look at this. He leaned in, scanning the messages. His jaw tightened. Where'd you get it? Anonymous, she said. No trace. He shook his head. This could burn everything down, the Alliance, Trent, maybe even the board. That's the point, Amara, you can't leak this. Not yourself. If it's traced back, she cut him off. They've already tried to erase me. What else can they take? Malik exhaled hard, pacing. Listen, there's a right way to fight. Chain of custody, legal verification. She closed the laptop with a sharp snap. The right way is designed to protect them. The minute I play by their rules, I lose. He stopped pacing. You release this, you'll start a war. She looked him dead in the eye. Then it's time they stop mistaking my silence for peace. By morning, the document had found its way to the Ledger, an independent digital outlet known for publishing corporate whistleblower material. Amara didn't send it. But someone did. At 9:06 a.m., the first headline hit. Internal emails reveal racist optics policies at Global Business Alliance. Screens lit up across the country. TV anchors fumbled through statements. Social media exploded with fury. Hashtags multiplied. By noon, every news station wanted a comment from Amara Cole. In her office, Malik burst through the door. It's everywhere, he said. Ledger confirmed authenticity through a third-party cybersecurity firm. You didn't send it? She shook her head. No, but someone wanted it out. Trent's finished, he said, almost disbelieving. This is career-ending. Amara leaned against her desk, staring at the skyline. Don't underestimate him. Men like Trent don't fall quietly. They claw. By evening, the counterattack began. A slick, polished statement from Trent's PR team hit every major network. Recent leaks represent an orchestrated smear campaign. The Alliance values inclusion, and condemns attempts to distort internal communications for personal vendettas. Her phone rang within seconds. Warren. She let it ring twice before answering. Amara. What did you do? Nothing, she said flatly. The board's in panic mode. Trent's implying the leak came from inside Cole Dynamics. They're talking about investigating you for breach of confidentiality. She laughed once, bitter. Of course they are. Don't be flippant, Warren snapped. If this gets tied to us, investors will scatter. Maybe they should. Maybe they should see who they've been funding. Think carefully, he warned. You've got everything to lose. When the call ended, Malik watched her from across the desk. He's scared. They all are, she said. Fear is the first step toward truth. He hesitated, then asked quietly, You think whoever leaked it did it for you or to you? She looked at him, tired, sharp, uncertain. Does it matter? The truth's out now. Later that night, she stood by the window of her office, city lights bleeding gold across her reflection. Her phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. You're not done yet. He's going to spin this. Stay ready. She read it twice, then deleted it. Down below, she could see the lobby filled with reporters, their cameras pointed upward, waiting for her to appear. Malik joined her quietly. What's your move? I don't move yet, she said. I let him talk first. Every liar eventually overreaches, and then I'll give them the truth and on my terms. The lights of the city shimmered like static, and for the first time in days, her expression hardened into something almost calm. She whispered, Let him think I'm cornered, because she wasn't. She was calculating. The broadcast began at exactly 8 p.m., prime time. Every network had the same lead story. Michael Trent breaks silence on the leaked email scandal. Amara watched from her office, the blue light of the screen cutting across her face. Trent sat in a leather chair, posture easy, voice smooth. He looked straight into the camera, calm, rehearsed, confident. I've known Ms. Cole for years, he said, tone heavy with false concern. She's brilliant, ambitious, but lately unstable. I worry that recent stress may have clouded her judgment. He paused, looked down, as if reluctant to continue. We all make mistakes under pressure. Unfortunately, she's chosen to lash out in ways that damage both her company and this community. I hope she finds peace. The anchor thanked him, face solemn. Then came the panel, talking heads dissecting every word. He sounded sincere. Could she have fabricated the leak? She's clearly emotional. Career suicide. Amara shut the TV off. The silence roared. Malik slammed his palm on the table. Unstable? He's the one caught lying. Amara leaned back, eyes closed. He's not defending himself. He's defining me. That interview's everywhere, Malik said, pacing. They're quoting him word for word. Investors are calling. Half our partners are re-evaluating contracts. She opened her eyes, clear, focused. Good, let them, he turned to her, incredulous. Good? If they're afraid of noise, they were never allies. Fear will separate the rot from the roots. The phone rang. Again. She ignored it. Malik lowered his voice. We can't stay quiet anymore. Amara stood and walked to the window. The skyline glowed, sterile, indifferent. I'm not staying quiet, she said. I'm preparing, he frowned. Preparing for what? For them to underestimate me one last time. At dawn, she called the producer of the Ledger live. 10 minutes, she said. Live broadcast. No pre-interview. I'll speak once. Unfiltered? The producer asked, skeptical. Exactly, by afternoon. They'd confirmed the slot, 7:30 p.m. Exclusive interview with Amara Cole. The studio lights were white, clinical, merciless. As they mic'd her up, the host leaned in. You're trending again. Half the country's calling you brave. The other half says you're dangerous. Any preference? Amara didn't blink. Neither. I'm accurate, the countdown began. Far. She inhaled once, steady, deliberate. The red light came on. Ms. Cole, the host began. Thank you for joining us. Let's get straight to it. Did you leak the emails? No, she said. But I wish I had, the host's eyebrows rose. You wish you had? Because those emails are truth. I spent 10 years pretending merit would protect me from bias. That if I worked harder, spoke softer, dressed cleaner, I'd be immune. The gala reminded me that racism doesn't need a reason. It just needs permission. The host hesitated, then asked, Michael Trent claims you're emotionally unstable. Your response? Amara's expression didn't shift. If defending my dignity makes me unstable, then the system is perfectly sane, and because it feeds on silence. A hush fell across the control room. She continued. What people forget is that discrimination doesn't start with violence. It starts with a seating chart, a tone, a laugh, a door that doesn't open when it should. That's how it hides in etiquette. The host swallowed. You're aware this might cost you your position at Cole Dynamics? Amara looked straight into the camera. If leadership means submission, I'll lead elsewhere. The segment cut to break, but by then social media was already on fire. Clips of her interview spread within minutes. The line, if defending my dignity makes me unstable, then the system is perfectly sane, became a rallying cry. Hashtags flipped overnight. Amara speaks, truth replaced ire, Cole scandal. At headquarters, Warren called her 23 times before she picked up. Amara, what were you thinking? His voice was sharp, panicked. You've set fire to our partnerships. Some partnerships deserve to burn. You're not listening. No, she interrupted. You're not seeing. This isn't about one event. It's about every closed door, every whispered doubt, every misunderstanding that hides behind professionalism. The public's finally looking at you, he snapped. Not at them. You've become the story, she smiled faintly. Exactly, he went silent. You really think this ends well for you? No, she said. But it won't end well for him either. That night, the alliance's crisis worsened. More employees came forward anonymously. More internal messages leaked, enough to confirm systemic discrimination patterns across years of events. The Ledger released another headline before midnight. Whistleblowers confirmed Trent's discriminatory policy framework, optics over equality. Trent's PR team went into overdrive. But every new denial sounded thinner, more desperate. Amara sat in her office, lights dim, staring at the city below. Malik walked in holding his phone. You've seen it? She nodded. They're eating their own now. He sat across from her. They're calling you the voice of corporate accountability. You've started a movement. Her eyes were tired. Movements come with casualties, he frowned. You regret it? No, she said quietly. But I'm learning that justice always costs more than revenge. By morning, Cole Dynamics' inbox was flooded, not with cancellations, but with support. Letters, donations, partnerships from firms long silenced by fear. Amara watched it all unfold, wordless. Malik grinned. They tried to bury you, Amara. They planted a forest. She almost smiled. Almost. Her phone buzzed one last time. An unknown number again. The message read, He's preparing to sue. He won't go quietly. Amara set the phone down. Then we go louder. 3 days after her interview, a courier arrived at Cole Dynamics. Leather case, embossed seal, Trent v. Cole. Amara read the heading once, then once more, slower. Defamation, reputational damage, intentional infliction of emotional distress. The irony nearly made her laugh. Malik read over her shoulder. He's suing you for emotional distress? He's weaponizing fragility, she said flatly. Standard strategy when privilege gets cornered. The boardroom filled within an hour. Advisors, PR, attorneys. The air was heavy with restraint. The senior counsel, Ms. Patel, adjusted her glasses. They're not after money. They're after silence. They'll settle if you retract publicly. Amara's tone was surgical. Retract what exactly? Reality? Patel hesitated. Public opinion isn't admissible in court. Facts are. Then we'll bring facts. Patel exchanged a look with Malik. Be aware. Trials like this don't punish liars. They exhaust truth-tellers. Amara stood. Good, I'm not tired yet. Within a week, media outlets plastered the lawsuit across every screen. Trent sues Amara Cole for defamation, claims smear campaign. Talk shows speculated motives. Legal analysts dissected tone. Hashtags divided again, half calling her a crusader, half branding her reckless. Trent's legal team launched a PR offensive, smiling interviews, contrived charity visits, staged photos with employees of color. Amara didn't respond, not publicly. Instead, she built her defense like a fortress. Every leaked memo, Every complaint, every NDA her office turned into an evidence lab. Folders stacked to the ceiling. Malik helped compile timelines, cross-referencing internal communications with public appearances. Each document told the same story: systemic bias disguised as procedure. 2 months later, the courtroom filled. Reporters lined the hallway. Cameras flashed. Trent entered first, tailored suit, lawyer in tow, expression humble. He gave a small nod to the jury, rehearsed and precise. Amara entered second. No smile, no entourage. Just a folder under her arm. The bailiff called the session to order. The judge looked over his glasses. Mr. Trent alleges Ms. Cole knowingly spread false information intended to damage his reputation. Ms. Cole, how do you plead? Amara's voice didn't waver. Truthfully, Trent's attorney began with performance, not argument. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, pacing, my client has been vilified, not by facts but by feelings. He's a victim of cancel culture targeted for political gain. He gestured toward Amara. Ms. Cole's accusations were not whistleblowing. They were vengeance. And vengeance is not justice, he sat confident. Patel stood for the defense. No one sues truth, she said. They sue exposure. She turned to the jury. We will show that Mr. Trent's leadership tolerated discriminatory conduct for years. That when confronted, he retaliated with character assassination, calling a professional woman unstable on live television. He is not the victim here. He's the architect. Trent's expression cracked, just slightly. The first week was spectacle. Executives testified about miscommunications. Assistants didn't recall. Every answer was polished, drained of guilt. Then came Exhibit 47, a leaked internal memo. Subject: Event Optics Management. Instruction: minimize presence of non-white guests at head tables for high-value sponsor comfort. Silence filled the room. The judge leaned forward. This document came from your department, Mr. Trent. Trent shifted in his seat. That language wasn't mine. Patel handed another copy. It was sent from your email address. His lawyer objected. Overruled. By week 3, the tide turned. Whistleblowers stepped forward, anonymously at first, then openly. An event coordinator testified, trembling. He told me to rearrange optics. I knew what that meant. A second witness confirmed it. Then a third. Trent's team tried to pivot, arguing semantics, intent, context. But every defense exposed another contradiction. Amara remained silent through most of it, eyes sharp, posture still. Her restraint unnerved them more than her words ever could. When it was her turn to testify, the courtroom felt electric. Patel asked, Ms. Cole, why didn't you remain quiet after the initial incident? Amara looked at the jury. Because silence protects comfort, not justice. Patel nodded. And why risk your career, reputation, and safety? Because if people like me don't, people like him never have to. During cross-examination, Trent's lawyer tried to rattle her. Ms. Cole, do you hate my client? No. I outgrew the need to. Do you consider yourself a victim? No, a mirror. He faltered, caught off guard. A mirror? Yes, and he doesn't like his reflection. The courtroom murmured. The judge called for silence. By closing arguments, the narrative had inverted. What began as a defamation case had become a public reckoning. Patel ended with one sentence. Truth doesn't need permission to exist. The jury deliberated for 7 hours. When they returned, the 4 persons spoke clearly. In favor of the defendant, Ms. Amara Cole. Trent's shoulders sagged. Cameras clicked in rapid bursts. The judge's gavel fell. Case dismissed. Outside, the crowd erupted, reporters shouting, microphones thrust forward. Amara walked past them all. No statement, no celebration. Malik caught up beside her. You won. She didn't slow. No, I proved. Winning was never the point. He nodded, understanding. As they stepped into the street, a woman approached, mid-40s, corporate badge around her neck. She whispered, Thank you. Amara looked at her, expression unreadable. Don't thank me. Speak next time. The woman froze, then nodded. Amara kept walking, into the noise, into the glare, into the next battle she hadn't yet named. Morning light slanted through blinds, too white, too clean. The lawsuit was over, but the noise hadn't stopped. Amara's phone vibrated nonstop. Mentions, interviews, articles. Some hailed her as a symbol of courage. Others called her divisive, angry, too political. She muted everything. Sat still. Malik entered her office. "They want you on CNN tonight, exclusive." "No," he blinked. "You sure?" I said no, her voice cut the air. Not harsh and final. He nodded slowly. "You're trending in 30 countries. Sponsors are calling back. Investors too. They want statements. Of course they do. Now truth is profitable." Malik hesitated. "That's not a bad thing." She looked at him, tired eyes, steady tone. "It's not a good one either." Cole Dynamics became a symbol overnight. The woke redemption arc, as one commentator called it. Recruiters, diversity consultants, brand strategists, all lined up, ready to repackage Amara's pain into marketable progress. She watched from the sidelines. They quoted her interviews, sold workshops, built panels. Every word she'd fought to speak now turned into someone else's slogan. Malik approached her desk one afternoon. "They're hosting an equity summit next month. They want you to open it. Representation in leadership." Amara didn't answer right away. She flipped through the event brochure. Glossy smiles, corporate sponsors, and on the second page in bold print, keynote sponsor, Trent Holdings. Her breath caught. He's still in business, restructured. His board forced him out officially, but he's still running consultancy work under his name. Amara stared at the logo, a phoenix rising. The metaphor stung. That night she sat by her apartment window overlooking the city. Rain streaked the glass. Streetlights blurred into smears of gold. The city had moved on. The world had moved on. Only she hadn't, she whispered to herself. Justice doesn't end. It just gets edited. The sound of her own voice startled her. She realized she hadn't spoken aloud in hours. 2 days later, she walked into a cafe near downtown. Quiet place. Unplanned. She needed air not filtered through PR statements. At the counter stood a man in a charcoal suit, hair slicked back, Trent. He turned mid-laugh with someone and froze when he saw her. The room shrank around them. Trent cleared his throat. "Amara," she said nothing. He tried again. "I didn't expect— You never do," she interrupted. He shifted, uneasy. "I came here to meet a client. I don't care." For a moment, they just stood there. Silence heavy, the hum of the espresso machine filling it. Then he said quietly, "You ruined me." Amara met his eyes. "You did that yourself." "I just turned on the lights." He looked down. "You think you won?" "My life's ashes." She tilted her head. "Ashes mean something burned." "That's progress." Trent's jaw tightened. He opened his mouth to respond, but she was already gone, door swinging shut behind her. Weeks passed. The summit approached. Media teasers promoted a new era of accountability. Amara's name glowed on every banner. She almost didn't go. Then she saw who else was speaking. A panel of young black entrepreneurs, each citing her as an influence. She decided to show up. The conference hall gleamed with chandeliers and tension. Rows of executives polished to perfection. Cameras everywhere. When she stepped onto the stage, the applause was loud, rehearsed loud. She stood behind the podium, looked at the crowd, and didn't smile. Her speech began without preamble. 2 years ago, I was denied a seat at a table like this, not because there wasn't room, but because the people sitting there didn't see me. The room fell still. I thought justice meant getting my seat back. I was wrong. Justice means building a new table and locking the old one in the museum where it belongs. Cameras flashed. People nodded, applauded, but Amara's eyes weren't on them. They were on the far wall, where a screen displayed sponsor logos. Trent Holdings, lower corner. Still there, her voice hardened. Progress without accountability is theater, and I didn't come here to perform. The applause faltered, confused. She closed her notes. "Thank you," and walked off stage mid-segment, leaving the host scrambling to fill the silence. Later, alone in the dressing room, Malik entered quietly. "That was unmarketable?" she said. He half smiled. "Unforgettable," she exhaled. "Good, I'm done being a symbol." "Then what now?" She looked at him, steady, tired, alive. "Now I build something that can't be bought." He nodded. "You already did." Amara stared into the mirror. The reflection looked older, calmer, unflinching. Her phone buzzed. A new message from an unknown sender. We're starting something. Real change. We need you. She didn't reply. Just set the phone down and whispered, not need. Join. The city lights flickered in the mirror behind her. Endless. Waiting. 6 months later. The city skyline glowed under a dusk of gold and violet. The annual Global Leadership Gala was underway. Same event, same hall, same sponsors. Different story. Reporters gathered at the marble steps, flashing bulbs strobing through the crowd. This time there was no unspoken line dividing who belonged. Inside, a new banner hung across the entryway. Equity is not charity. And beneath it, in small script, presented by the Amara Cole Foundation. Amara arrived quietly, black satin dress, no entourage. The whispers followed anyway. Is that her? She's the reason Trent got dropped. She's the reason we're even doing this. She ignored them all, moving through the crowd like someone walking through an old dream. On stage, organizers were preparing for the keynote. She was listed last. Guest of honor. The title still felt foreign, like borrowed fabric. Malik approached, smiling slightly. Ready? No, she said truthfully. He laughed. You've rebuilt the city's conscience. You can handle a microphone. Conscience is temporary, she replied. But memory stays. She stepped backstage, waiting for the cue. Through the curtain she could see executives mingling, PR teams posing, glass laughter echoing. And then a familiar figure at the bar. Trent. He stood alone. No entourage. No cameras. Just a drink and a silence around him like fog. Their eyes met across the distance. He raised his glass. Not in defiance, but acknowledgement. For a fleeting second the world slowed. She gave a single nod, then turned toward the stage. The announcer's voice filled the hall. Please welcome our guest of honor, Amara Cole. Applause thundered. But Amara heard only her heartbeat. She walked onto the stage, the light almost blinding. For a moment she didn't speak. Just looked, faces, hundreds of them, white, black, brown. Some watching with admiration, others with calculation. She spoke at last. I was told once that change happens in rooms like this. I believed it. Until I realized, rooms like this were built to keep change outside. A ripple moved through the audience. I was denied a seat at this event 2 years ago. They said it was a mistake. But mistakes don't trend. Systems do. No one moved. Cameras clicked softly like breath. Tonight, I'm not here to be thanked. I'm here to remind you that progress built on apology is just performance art. Her tone sharpened. You can rename departments, hold summits, sponsor panels. But if your boardrooms still look like mirrors, you haven't changed anything. You've just rebranded the problem. A murmur spread, uncomfortable. She paused, scanning the crowd until her eyes found Trent again. He didn't look away. Amara continued. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means refusing to let injustice rent space in your soul rent-free. A slow, genuine silence followed, the kind that wasn't applause but absorption. She finished simply. The measure of your humanity isn't what you say when the world watches. It's what you fix when no one does. She stepped back. Applause rose, not thunderous but real, unpolished. After the ceremony, the press cornered her near the exit. Ms. Cole, do you feel vindicated? Would you ever work with Trent again? What's next for the foundation? She answered none. Instead, she looked beyond the cameras, where a small group of young entrepreneurs, mostly women of color, waited quietly with notebooks, nervous energy in their eyes. She walked toward them. One asked softly, "How do we start?" Amara smiled, and the first real one in a long time. "You already did." They followed her outside, leaving the flashbulbs behind. Later that night, she stood on the balcony overlooking the city. The air smelled of rain and metal. Malik joined her, 2 glasses in hand. "You didn't stay for the after-party," he said. "They're celebrating awareness," she replied. "That's the first step toward sleep, not action." He nodded. "You know, the city's council just announced a partnership with your foundation. Educational reform, workplace accountability, big stuff." She looked out over the lights. "Then maybe we're finally starting to mean it." Malik hesitated. "And Trent?" Amara took a sip. "He'll rebuild something. Everyone does. I just hope he learns to build it differently. A sudden buzz, her phone. Notification breaking news. Headline: Former CEO Trent resigns from consulting firm after ethics audit findings. Amara watched the screen for a long time, then turned it off. Poetic justice? Malik asked. She shook her head. Predictable consequence, he smiled faintly. Still satisfying. Sometimes, she admitted. But I'm not here for satisfaction. I'm here for continuity. At the base of the gala steps, the event staff were dismantling decorations. One of them, a young black intern, had looked up at her, hesitant. Ms. Cole? Amara leaned on the railing. Yes, he swallowed. I applied here last year. They told me I didn't fit the image. Tonight I was on the planning team. Amara's expression softened. Then you're proof, he smiled. Proof of what? That the system isn't invincible, just maintained. He nodded, pride flickering through his eyes. She turned back toward the skyline. The city pulsing below. Rain began to fall, quiet, unannounced. Amara didn't move. Her reflection shimmered in the glass doors behind her. Not as a victim, not a symbol, just a woman who had refused silence. Lightning flashed once, illuminating the banner inside the hall. Guest of honor, Amara Cole, she whispered under her breath, not as triumph, but release. I never needed their seat, and walked away into the rain, into her own future, unclaimed, unborrowed, entirely hers. 3 years later, the world had shifted, not completely but measurably. The Amara Cole Foundation had grown into a network spanning 6 countries, funding scholarships, mentorship programs, and corporate equity audits. Her name had become shorthand for accountability. Too often, she thought, names become headlines faster than they become humans again. A news anchor's voice filled the background of her office. The Cole Standard, now adopted by 40 Fortune 500 companies, continues to redefine diversity metrics. She muted the television. The sound of progress was loud. The work beneath it was quiet. Malik entered, tablet in hand. Final report's ready. You should see this. He placed it on the desk. Graphs, percentages, policy shifts, all proof of momentum. Amara scanned the data, then said softly, people love data because it makes conscience look like math. Malik smiled faintly. It's still proof something changed. Yes, she said, but not enough. She walked to the window. The skyline glowed with late evening, silver against dark blue. I used to think justice was a verdict, she said. Now I think it's a habit. Malik leaned against the desk, and habits spread. You've built a movement that outlives you. Then it'll need to survive without me. He frowned. You're not leaving? I'm stepping back, she corrected. Leadership shouldn't fossilize. Malik studied her. The board will push back. They'll adapt, she said simply. That weekend, the foundation hosted its annual awards. Small venue, no cameras, invitation only. The stage backdrop was plain white. The award itself, a single black stone encased in glass. When Amara walked in, the applause was warm, not performative. Her former interns, partners, activists, all gathered. Malik took the stage. 3 years ago, Amara Cole reminded the world that silence is strategy. Tonight, we remind her that truth is legacy. Applause. Then stillness. Amara stood, approached the podium, and exhaled slowly before speaking. I used to think change needed noise. Cameras, headlines, I was wrong. She glanced around the room, faces she'd mentored, voices now louder than hers. Real change happens in rooms no one photographs, in conversations that don't trend, in decisions that no one applauds. The day you stop needing credit is the day you've actually made progress. She paused, steady. I was denied a seat once. I spent years fighting for one. Then I learned the goal was never to sit. It was to open the door. She let the silence breathe, and tonight, I'm walking through that door so someone else can lead. The crowd shifted. Surprise. Emotion, pride, she continued. Every generation deserves its own voice. I won't be the face of justice forever. Nor should I be. Legacy isn't ownership. It's release. She stepped away from the podium. Applause rose. Not loud, but layered. Genuine. Later, as the crowd dispersed, a young woman approached in early 20s. Nervous energy, determination in her eyes. Ms. Cole? Amara turned. Yes? The woman took a breath. I was one of the scholarship recipients last year. I graduate next month. My thesis is on systemic equity models, and because of your work. Amara smiled. No, because of your courage. The girl shook her head. You don't understand. Your story might have changed everything for me. Amara's tone softened. Then promise me something. Anything. Make sure your story doesn't sound like mine. It should end sooner and with less fight. The young woman nodded, eyes wet. I'll try. Don't try, Amara said gently. Build. Outside, rain began again, the soft kind like memory returning. Amara stood beneath the awning, watching reflections ripple across the pavement. Each droplet fractured the city lights into fragments, a mosaic of what she'd lost and what she'd built. Malik joined her quietly. You sure about stepping down? Yes, he studied her face. You look lighter. I am. Truth isn't supposed to be carried forever. Just passed forward. He nodded slowly. What will you do now? Disappear for a while, right? Listen. To what? To how silence sounds when it's no longer fear. Weeks later, headlines ran one final time. Amara Cole steps down, leaves foundation to new leadership. Commentators speculated. The public debated. Amara didn't read any of it. She was already gone, living in a quiet coastal town. Mornings spent walking the shore, afternoons drafting essays she never signed. The world continued, louder than ever, but somewhere in an office in another city, a plaque hung on the wall of a young activist's workspace. Justice is not a seat. It's a signal. Amara Cole. Months later, at a televised event, the new foundation chair stood before a crowd. Behind her, a massive screen displayed black and white footage. Amara's first televised confrontation. Her courtroom testimony. The moment the jury ruled in her favor. The audience rose in applause. The chair spoke softly into the microphone. She taught us that silence can be engineered, but so can courage. Tonight we honor her not for winning, but for teaching us how to lose with integrity until truth wins on its own. In her seaside apartment, Amara sat watching the waves crash against the rocks. No television, no noise, just the rhythm of something ancient and certain. Her phone buzzed once. A message from Malik. They quoted you again tonight. Whole room stood up. She smiled faintly, then typed one final reply. Good. Now they can stand without me. She placed the phone down, closed her eyes, and listened. To wind, to sea, to silence. A legacy no longer hers alone.